Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Now entering the game for Philly Press Box Radio, Bill Furman and Jim Chet Chesko.
It's Wednesday, January 11th, 2023. Welcome to the Philly Press Box Radio Roundtable, show number 425. Chet, that's a milestone. Brought to you by the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA, Allstate Insurance in Westchester, PA, and the Edge of Philly Sports Network. I'm Bill Furman. I'll be your host tonight, along with my partner, Jim Chet Chesko. Hey, Chet, the Eagles are leading the way to the NFL dance for the first-round bye to home field advantage. All roads to the Super Bowl go through Philly. The Sixers have now won 13 of their last 16 after last night's blowout win over the Pistons. And it seems the Flyers might have a little goalie controversy on their hands as rookie Sam Ersson continues to play well. As always, plenty to talk about in the Philly sports scene.
Yeah, Bill, things are pretty darn good on all fronts right now. The Sixers and Flyers on a bit of a roll, go figure. The Phillies continue to make some wintertime moves. And, of course, the Eagles getting ready to host a couple of games at the Link later this month. And, yeah, I said a couple of games because they will win that first one. Just waiting to see, of course, who their opponents will be. So much to talk about tonight, Bill. We may have to trim down our planned 10-minute segment recapping last night's Golden Globes to maybe, 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, just remember one thing, partner. I have the mute button over here just like you do, and I know right where it is, and I know where to punch it.
Yeah, well, when you start criticizing Joel Embiid, I'll be using that mute button too, pal.
Well, I mean, that's easy. He just walks into all that stuff for me. It makes it easy for me. Hey, but we're going to cover all things Eagles tonight with Bleeding Green Nation's Brandon Lee Gowton. And, of course, Poop will be by to do some super wild card weekend predictions with us.
Yeah, it's not just wild card weekend anymore, Bill. It is super wild card weekend. 6 games, 3 of them, of course, which could impact, who the Eagles will play the following weekend. I can't wait to get yours and Boop's take on those games.
Yeah, it's going to be fun because there's a lot of good games and a lot of good teams going into the playoffs. So we'll see. I'm actually still up in the air on a few things in my mind.
I have mine all written down on our little script here, so I'm ready. And so's our guest. Let's do it.
That's right. So let's welcome Bleeding Green Nation's Brandon Lee Gowton back to Philly Press Box Radio. BLG, welcome back. Chet, I don't know how many times BLG's been with us, but it's been great every time.
22, number 22. He is the leader still.
The leader in the clubhouse.
That's crazy.
2 up on Ray Didinger. So, yeah, that's pretty
Oh, my gosh. Right there. Well, that's a lot of pressure. Thanks for having me, guys, as always.
You got it. Hard to believe. We have not actually talked to you since last August 31st, right before the season began. You and I, Brandon, both predicted an 11-6 Eagle season. Bill was a smidge closer to reality. He said 12-5. Of course, they went an NFC East or an NFC Conference best, 14-3. Great seasons for a whole bunch of guys. Are you surprised at how the season went the way it did?
I mean, I'm surprised, they were this good. You looked at the schedule. I thought you looked at the roster. There's a lot of reasons to believe that they would be a good team for sure. But, 14-3, breaking a lot of franchise records for not only the wins total, but all the individual stat records. The first team ever with 4 different players with 10 plus. No one can say they were predicting all of that. It's been a special season. Obviously, this year ultimately is going to be defined by what they do in the playoffs. But I think people need to take a moment, which they have, because the Eagles have a bye week this week because of what they've been able to accomplish in the regular season, and kind of appreciate that and savor that for a second.
Yeah, I agree. And, at some point, Brandon, I forget what week it was, I actually jumped up and said 15-2. They were on such a roll. I jumped to 15-2 at one point. They ended up losing, 2 there at the end to make it 3. But overall, great season. And you got to start with Jalen Hurts and how much he's improved. And here we are. Is he going to be healthy? Are we going to be ready to go come next Sunday or next weekend?
That's the big question, and it's kind of interesting, maybe strange, if you will, how Nick Sirianni keeps talking about how Jalen Hurts is in a lot of pain. And, you heard from Jalen Hurts after the Eagles win over the Giants being asked about the status of his shoulder and everything. And he kept saying good enough is the term. The good news is the Eagles have, the extra time here for him to heal up a little bit. I don't think that is irrelevant. I think that could, make a difference for him getting that extra time. I don't think he looked terrible by any means. He was not as sharp as certainly against the Giants. You also have to consider it's not like they were throwing the kitchen sink at that team and really going all out to win, and kind of more so doing the bare minimum just to get by and make sure they clinch the 1 seed, but also not give too much away and make sure they keep Jalen Hurts healthy. Thought he did a really good job for the most part of protecting himself. So, I think him being available in the run game, which I expect in the playoffs, is going to be a big deal. And until I have reason to believe otherwise, I'm going to believe that the rest is going to help him and he'll be good to go.
Well, Brandon, another real concern, speaking of injuries, would be right tackle Lane Johnson. He sat out, the last few games with what is a pretty serious injury, I believe. And, especially for an offensive tackle who needs that, push from the groin or abdominal area. So he's certainly not going to be close to 100%, I don't think, for the playoffs. Is he going to be good enough to help them, do you think?
Yeah, I think he will. It's just maybe a matter of time until he might have to come out again. Hopefully not. But to have such a serious injury like that, and I still think you take any kind of percentage for the most part of Lane Johnson over the alternative Jack Driscoll or whatever else you would want to do if he's not playing. So to have him at all is good news, but certainly that he's hampered is going to be potentially a big deal. It could be where it results in he has a pretty good game still. But there's that one play, where it's just not Lane Johnson-esque that we see from him just because of the injury. So, that could be the difference in the game. Hopefully not.
Yeah. I hate to get too far ahead because we got a whole lot of present-day football to talk about with the Eagles. But Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson, both named first-team All-Pro. I saw today where they were also voted by the players in the league as first-team All-Pro. When does the Lane Johnson, Jason Kelce window close? I mean, to me, it's huge. I mean, you're talking about two of the best linemen in the game. If they were to go out together, that's really huge.
Yeah, I think it depends really. And like if the Eagles win the Super Bowl, let's say again, maybe Jason Kelce is like, all right, 2 rings. This is a good way to kind of go out here. Yeah. Eagles drafted my replacement last year and, Cam Jurgens, it's all good. I can walk away. Everything's cool. If not, is it crazy that he might want to come back for another season? I mean, I don't think so. He's playing it still at a very high level. He just said All-Pro kind of level, and it's hard to believe he's going to fall off until we kind of actually see it happen. So, and I'm not certainly going to be the one who bets against Jason Kelce. So I think it kind of depends on what the Eagles do here. And then as far as Lane Johnson goes, I mean, if he has the kind of career that, let's say, Jason Peters has, I mean, he could be playing for 7 more years or whatever. Now, Lane has said that he only wants to play for a few more seasons, I believe. Of course, it's one thing to say that now. It's another thing for a couple of years from now to be here and to have money on the table from the Eagles, who certainly will be wanting to keep him around, I'm sure, and kind of have it to make a decision there. But given that Holly's gone through and played through these injuries and everything, he might decide that it's enough. And again, if let's say the Eagles win the Super Bowl here and they have 2 rings, he's not going to retire after this season, I would imagine, but maybe down the road, he's like, all right, I'm good.
I don't want to think about either of those guys leaving just yet. And a couple of guys who I think are going to be here for a long, long time are Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. They set some records this year, both of them. Ideally, they will be in Philly for, many, many years to come. How about the year these 2 guys had?
I don't even know how to quantify or qualify A.J. Brown's season, especially because it's almost to the point to me where it's like, it's very easy to take it for granted how good he is. And it's just like, oh, yeah, another 100-yard game. That's not surprising to anyone. It's just what you expect at this point. I mean, for him to surpass, Mike Quick's record, and obviously he did it in 17 games, though he did it on the first play of the game. So, kind of closer to 16. But yeah, I mean, A.J. Brown looked phenomenal in training camp. He looked phenomenal early in the season. He looked phenomenal late in the season. I'm sure he's going to look phenomenal in the playoffs. He's just an incredible player. And then Devontae, I think it's overshadowed because A.J. Brown is here. And in my head, I'm thinking this Devontae Smith has to have one of the most underrated wide receiver 2 kind of seasons. And I don't even think it's really fair to call him a wide receiver 2. I think he's a wide receiver 1B. If you want to say, A.J. Brown's above him. he breaks the Eagles record for single season catches by a receiver. I mean, he's fantastic. Both of those guys are just absolute studs.
Yeah, and I think you could throw the third guy in the picture too, and throw Dallas Goedert in there too, because he just makes them all the better when he's on the field, and it gives Jalen Hurts so much more to work with as well. So I expect to see big things from Goddard in the playoffs. I think he's going to be a key.
Absolutely, and him missing some time in the regular season kind of robbed him of making the Pro Bowl. He should have been in the Pro Bowl as well. I mean, he's been awesome. He's super efficient. And I agree. I feel like we haven't seen him used as heavily in recent weeks. I think that's going to change when the postseason begins.
Well, Bill Boop and I will make our wild card weekend predictions later in the show. But let's get yours for the two games that'll determine whom the Eagles will play the following weekend. I'm not counting Seattle or San Francisco at all. The New York Giants at Minnesota, and, of course, Dallas at Tampa Bay. I really think both of those games could go either way. What say you, Brandon?
Yeah, I know you're not asking for that, but I'm just in the sense of, like, yes, I do agree that the 49ers are going to win. Seahawks are not going to win, because if the Seahawks did, then the Eagles would automatically play them. I do think the Giants are going to be able to pull off the upset here. I mean, the Vikings are not as good as their record indicates. We all know that. They're like the only team to finish with 13 wins or whatever, and the negative point differential like they have. If you look at some of the more advanced metrics like DVOA from Football Outsiders, they're 27th. They're actually 28th in weighted DVOA, which kind of counts for more recent performance. The Giants played the Vikings tough the last time these two teams met just a few weeks ago in Minnesota, and it took a 61-yard field goal from the Vikings at the end to be able to win that one. So I think the Giants are going to play this team tough, and I feel good about them. And therefore, by saying the Seahawks are not going to win, the Giants are, then that's who the Eagles will see, I believe, in the divisional round.
And how about that other game, Dallas, Tampa Bay, Monday night? Tom Brady, can he make it 8-0 against Dallas?
Oh, well, I wouldn't be mad if he did. I would like to see that, but it's tough. This Buccaneers team just isn't very good. I can't say there's a 0% chance, Tom Brady's going to have an epic performance or a classic performance. I think what I'm watching for in this game is if the Cowboys can kind of just jump out strong and build a lead. I don't think we're going to see the same Tom Brady who once led, the greatest comeback of all time in the Super Bowl against the Falcons. I don't think we're going to see that same motivation from a guy who might have one foot out the door already in Tampa. So I think if the Cowboys can get up early, they kind of can control that thing and not have to worry too much about losing there. I'm going to take the Cowboys to win and cover.
All right. Hey, Brandon, Eagles fans, well, they're different anyway. So we'll just start out with that. They kind of put these last three games in a box, and they're thinking that the Eagles aren't as good as I think they are because of these last three games. You put much credence to that or much weight in how these last three games have played out?
Not really. I think we look back at the Cowboys in Week 18 last year when they came to Philly. They played the Eagles backups. They put 51 on them. Next week, they went out against San Francisco at home, only put up 17 points, lost. I don't think what we see late in the season necessarily directly correlates to what we're going to see in the playoffs. Again, you can look at the Super Bowl Eagles in 2017 when they did not look good against the Raiders on Christmas night. And then they looked so bad, in fact, that they wanted to play their starters in Week 17 against the Cowboys, nothing to play for, just to see if they could kind of jumpstart that offense and get some momentum going there. And they couldn't. They looked really bad. And there was talk about, is Nick Foles even the right guy to lead the Eagles in the playoffs? And sure enough, he was. So I don't really put a ton of stock in it. I get some of the restlessness, but I think you have to look at the bigger sample of what the Eagles did this year, and you also have to look at how Gardner Minshew was starting in two of these games, and now you're going to get Jalen Hurts back. And even if Jalen Hurts isn't fully 100%, I'm very confident whatever level he's at is better than what Gardner Minshew is going to give you.
Well, I don't want to get too far ahead either, but most people think that if things happen the way we think they're going to happen over the next couple of weekends, that it'll eventually be the Eagles and 49ers playing for the conference championship. How good is Brock Purdy? The guy has started 5 games, won them all. He was the quarterback the bulk of the game before that, so really 6-0. Passer rating of 107, 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He was the last kid taken in the draft. How good is Brock Purdy, Brandon?
It's crazy. I don't know. I think even 49ers fans don't know. I don't think anyone knows the answer to that question for sure. I feel like we're all waiting for the other shoe to drop on that one. I think, it's going to be interesting to see when you consider how historically these quarterbacks who are new to the playoffs, and the playoffs in the first time, it's a different atmosphere, it's a different environment. Their track record is not great. So, I think you have to consider that Kyle Shanahan is certainly working in his favor and making things easy for him, and just the talent the 49ers have on that team. And let's say their offense isn't even really looking all that great. Well, I mean, that defense is still going to be very good, and they're going to keep the points down. So they're a juggernaut of a team. They're certainly the biggest challenge to the Eagles in the NFC here. And I don't know what to fully make of him, so we'll see.
Yeah. Hey, I want to go back to the present Eagles, and the game plans are a little baffling to me. They seem to want to throw. And even early in the season, when things were a little rough, they hunkered down and ran the football. Miles Sanders, I made a couple notes. In the last 11 games, Miles Sanders has only 5 times carried the ball more than 12 times in a game. And in those games, he 2 of those games, 144 and 143 yards rushing. What seems to be the love affair with the throwing the football when you have the best offensive line in the game?
I think in week 18, there was an effort to test Jalen Hurts out a little bit and want to see what he could do with his arm and how he would probably handle the workload that he did and how he would respond to that. So there was some, experimentation, I believe, to some extent going on. Probably still could have ran the ball a little bit more for nitpicking. But, you look at the Saints game. I don't think they ran the ball enough, especially considering the Saints are weaker against the run than they are against the pass, which is kind of a reverse of how they've been in previous years. So there were more opportunities for that. Of course, Miles Sanders hasn't really been 100% here. He's been limited in practice some of these recent weeks. He's had a knee brace on. He's actually played the lowest snap count percentages of the season in each of his last 2 games. I think part of that is the team wanting to be a little cautious with him and have him available in the playoffs heavily to lean upon. So I think that's part of it. And I think part of it is just, the Eagles are always going to pass a lot. They like to pass a lot. That's going back to Andy, whatever. But I do think we're going to see more Miles than in the postseason than we did at the end of the regular season here.
I got to ask you something else, Brandon. Have you ever had taco soup made by Nick Sirianni?
I would love to. I would love to get
with
that
Fritos
review
on the side, right?
Yeah, I would take some Fritos on the side too. I'd give him some feedback, but I have not had it. No.
His wife loves it, from what he tells
That's
us.
right.
That was just bizarre. But anyway, back to football. I'm going to ask you about a punter right now. Is Aaron Siposs done for the season, and is Brett Kern officially the punter? Because he has not been great. I know he used to be, a Pro Bowl punter, but he has not been great since he took over for Siposs. What's the status there?
He's been not great. He's been bad, flat out, just awful.
Exactly.
He ranks dead last in the league in average hang time. Any kind of key punting net average, I think he's 35th out of 36 punters. It's a small sample size. He's only punted, I think, 10 times. But still, it's been really bad, and that's pretty concerning to me. To a point, the Eagles probably aren't going to be punting a lot in the playoffs. We know they're pretty aggressive, and their offense is really good. It's not like they're going to have to punt as much as some other teams might, but still, they're going to have to do it more than ever. And I don't love that. As far as Siposs goes, he seems to be in a walking boot still. All indications are that, to me, that he's not going to be available. I don't know that. I'm not going to say 100% he can't come back, but I don't think that's the option. And it's a little bit unfortunate to me that the Eagles kind of didn't maybe bring in for this kind of somewhat meaningless Week 18 game just another punter. Why not just give another chance, try him out, see what they have? But they're sticking with Kern, and it's concerning because he's been really bad.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, we haven't even talked defense yet. Defense has been pretty darn good. Jonathan Gannon's still under the gun from the Eagles fans. I don't really get it. They're ranked at the top of everything, just about, or very close, and only giving up more than 21 points 3 times in the entire season. Yet Jonathan Gannon always seems to be the whipping boy for the Philadelphia Eagles sports fans. What do you make of this defense? They're pretty darn good.
Yeah, it's a kind of a cognitive dissonance thing here where I think people, they know the metrics look good. I think people can see that, but I think feeling and knowing are 2 different things. And the feeling is definitely always that, or isn't always matching up with what the numbers show. And I think there is something to the fact that if you have a defense that kind of lets the team take underneath And, it puts them in a challenging position where they kind of consistently have to keep converting on, let's say, 3rd and 4 or whatever. But if you can, it can kind of demoralize maybe the defense because it's like, oh, we gave up another 3rd down. We gave up another 3rd down. And especially if you're home, which the Eagles will be in the playoffs, the crowd. I saw that in the Saints game when Andy Dalton, you allow him to just march down the field. And by, the 3rd or 4th time that Eagles fans are getting up or should be getting up on 3rd down, to cheer for the team, there's some wind taken out of the sails a little bit there. So, I think there is something to the style that kind of can be a little bit deflating at times and frustrating. I think on the whole, you sign up for the results that you get. But I also think when it comes to Gannon and evaluating him in the bigger picture, last year, I was pretty consistent that I don't think the Eagles overperformed their talent. And I think that's what a good coach does. He gets the most out of the talent that you have. I think they kind of underperformed. And this year, I think they're at their level. But I also think you have to give a lot of credit to Howie Roseman, who has added a lot of talent on this team. Half of the roster is either when it comes to the defense alone, are either like Pro Bowlers or Pro Bowl alternates. There are a lot of star players on this team. Gannon obviously deserves some level of credit for helping them have those seasons. But at the same time, I think the talent here is a big factor.
Well, speaking of Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen, they're both getting some interviews this week, allegedly. Do you think they're going to lose both or at least one of them in the offseason?
I'm more confident they're going to lose Jonathan Gannon. I mean, we saw him get so much interest last year, kind of, again, to me, somewhat inexplicably, especially when you consider like D'Amico Ryans is out there. And I just think D'Amico Ryans, not that Gannon has a terrible track record right now, but I think it's very clearly that D'Amico Ryans' track record is even better than what Gannon has offered. So, I do think he's going to get a job. He has a lot of charisma. Steichen he seems to be getting a lot more interest in terms of he already has 3 teams requesting an interview with him. I don't know from the personality standpoint that I really see it as much with him. He seems to kind of more have the acumen and he might be more suited to be a good offensive coordinator to me than a good head coach and a leader of a team. But I could be wrong about that. I don't know him maybe as well. And I'm not getting to interview him like these teams are. So I could be off, but my sense is just, I don't know for sure that he would draw that same kind of inspiration and end up getting a job.
Hey, Brandon, Freddie Burns sends you a little note. I think you see it on your screen there. The GOAT.
Thanks, Fred.
GOAT.
Yep.
How about that? Hey, Brandon, I have to ask you, we talked Lane Johnson, we talked Jason Kelsey. How about the year Brandon Graham has had? He's been, you could talk about Hassan Reddick, certainly, but Brandon Graham as the elder statesman of this football team with those other guys. What a season.
It's incredible. I mean, to be 34, a lot of players might have to hang it up at this point. He was drafted in 2010. Brandon Graham is out here, and, he has a case for comeback player of the year. Is he going to win it? Probably not, because he's not going to get that national respect. But I think he should, because, he came back from an ACL tear and had a career year at age 34. It's wild. It's crazy. Honestly, I can't say I'm shocked from the standpoint of seeing him in practice and training camp this summer. He was awesome. I was like, he might actually be able to have a career year because he was looking great. Whatever he did in that time, from that injury to get right and get healthy and everything. And part of it is that he's been able to take advantage of an Eagles pass rush rotation that's so deep that he doesn't have to play, even 70%. He's on a low snap count percentage. That's the thing. He had a career year production-wise while playing the lowest snap count percentage. So he's really been able to maximize those plays. He is out on the field and get the most out of those snaps. So Brandon Graham's awesome. Obviously, he's the Eagles' Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee. I would love to see him win that award. He's an Eagles legend, the Super Bowl. Can't say enough good things about Brandon Graham.
BLG, I'm not going to let you get out of here without talking about these guys because you follow the game closely, much more closely than my partner here. And I got to ask you, how good are these 76ers right now? They've moved up to 4th place, percentage points ahead of the Cavaliers. It's really tight in the East. I don't know if the standings mean that much, at the end of the regular season. They still got to prove it in the playoffs. But what's your take on the Sixers right now and what they're doing and what their outlook is?
Well, you just said it, Chet. It's all about getting out of the second round. Until they do that, I'm not going to just assume they can. I feel like the vibes have been kind of strange this season, especially with the slow start. I kind of set a weird tone for this year. But I was really impressed with the win last night over the Pistons. I know it's just the Pistons, but one of the things that frustrates me about the Sixers team over the years is that they can't blow out some of these bad teams, or if they'll build a big lead and allow the other team to get back into it, which doesn't allow them to rest their starters. I was so happy to see that all 5 starters from last night were their minutes were in the 20s. That's great. Get in there, blow them out, pull them out, get some rest. So, I think they're in a stretch here where they should be able to win their next 3 games. And I feel like, they're going to be in the mix. Do I have unequivocal faith and trust in them? No, I don't, because between Embiid, who I love, but certainly needs to be better and needs to be healthy for once in the playoffs, and then Harden certainly is not known for being a playoff performer. So I probably have more hope than I did now than I did in the beginning of the season, but still very much a long way to go.
Bill?
Oh, I think the big question of every day is what body part is hurting on Joel today to make him questionable.
Here we go.
Is it the back? Is it the foot? Is it the ankle? Is it the elbow? What?
36 points in 24 minutes last night. He is the all-time leader in points per minute. If the guy is healthy, he's going to be there, and he's going to be able to, help the team.
Win me something and call me back. Hey, Brandon, before we let you go, let everyone know where they can follow you on all your social media. You got a ton of things going on as usual.
Yeah, you can check me out at bleedinggreennation.com, the Bleeding Green Nation podcast feed as well, the SB Nation NFL show, where we talk about not just we talk about the Eagles too, but we talk about the whole league. So, those are the big things on Twitter at Brandon Gowton and on Instagram at Brandon Gowton.
Fantastic. Well, hey, BLG, as always, thanks for taking the time to join us. I guess one final question. Are the Eagles going to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, of course.
Are they going to win?
There you go.
I mean, yeah, if you're there, why not?
That's what I'm thinking. All right, my man. Appreciate you coming back 22nd time.
Yes, indeed.
All right. Thanks, Brandon.
See you guys.
All right. Hey, Chet. Good stuff. Brandon's always on the money, no doubt. Hey, Chet, it's cold out. The cold weather has come. It's a little cold up there in the Northeast for sure. So you might actually be spending a little more time at home on your couch than you are in your car. Although every time I see you, you're at a concert somewhere. I don't know. But it's time for you to start saving with Allstate's pay-as-you-go auto insurance.
Yeah, Bill, Allstate's pay-as-you-go auto insurance puts you in control. You only pay for the miles you drive with the same full coverage that a traditional policy offers. Pay-per-mile insurance gives customers greater control of their insurance costs. See how much you can save with pay-per-mile car insurance by calling your local agent. In Westchester, Pennsylvania, that is Dave Lavoie. By the way, happy 11th anniversary to Dave and his Allstate agency. Call Dave at 610-430-0700. Once again, 610-430-0700. And start to save more now that you are driving less.
That's right. Hey, Chet, winter activities. Speaking of that and being in the cold, you might need to warm up. So why don't you go to the Irish Rover Station House? What's going on over there?
Well, there's always something good going on at the Irish Rover Station House. They have Quizzo every Wednesday evening, live music Saturday nights. Ty Kingsley is there this weekend providing the tunes, plus killer burgers Thursdays, dinner specials Thursday through Sunday, a $5 per item tailgate menu during all Eagles games, and 24 beers on tap all the time. Very soon we will get details about how the Rover is going to celebrate its 10th anniversary at its Bellevue Avenue location. More details about all of the above at the website, irishroverstationhouse.com. And I think I need a little Merle before I can continue. So, Merle, where are you? Come on.
Hi, football fans. This is Merrill Reese, and you're listening to Bill and Chet on Philly Press Box Radio. It's good!
Well, hey, Chet, we're going to talk a little bit of Sixers again, just because it's fun. But before we do, I want to give out a shout-out to our pal Keith Pompey, National Sports Media Association Pennsylvania co-writer of the year this year. Nice award for Keith. It's for his coverage with the Sixers. We always have a lot of fun with Keith when he's on the show. He's always great talking Sixers. And because he's a Giant fan and a Pitt Panther fan, we have a lot of fun with him. But congratulations to Keith on a great honor. You don't win those kind of things that often.
Yeah, he's a good man. He does a great job for the Inquirer. So, yeah, we do have a lot of fun with him and go back and forth with him on the Eagles-Giants stuff. because he gets a little crazy with that once in a while, but great rider, and congratulations are in order for sure. Hey, also a couple other things, Fester, our buddy's still going through some medical stuff all the time, it seems. So we wish Fester the very best. And our pal Jane's getting a little procedure tomorrow. So we wish Jane the best also.
Absolutely. Get well, stay well, you guys. We got a lot of stuff yet to do. So be healthy. All right. Hey, Chet, Sixers, as we said, have won 13 of 16. They're now 25-15. Just one game left until the midpoint of the season. They're on pace for 50 wins. They've done it with a bunch of injuries. The second half of the season is going to be really interesting, the way things are being played out in the Eastern Conference, as you can see with the stats or the standings you put up there. Remember when we were talking last week, they were just 3 games out. And here they are playing good ball, but now they're 3.5 out.
Yeah, the Celtics were in a little bit of a nosedive for a while, but now they're playing well again. The Nets keep on winning. I don't know how that's happening, but from first place through 5th place, as you just saw, a difference of 3.5 games. So it's really tight. And by the way, the guy that you love to diss, Joel Embiid, yeah, he missed 3 games, but he came back and looked great last night with the little foot pain. But as I said, 36 points in 24 minutes. Harden playing great still. He's got 15 assists 5 times now this year, and he's got a bunch of triple doubles this year as well. So, keep him and keep Joel healthy, and I think they can finally get past the second round. As Brandon said, no guarantees, but I'm feeling a little more optimistic than I was certainly a month ago.
Well, getting Maxey back certainly helps. He to me, he could be that guy. But I did think it's interesting, and I'm not picking on Embiid here, but it was interesting to me, and I forget which game it was, that he was out, and they had 7 guys score in double figures and blew out the opponent. And Glenn Rivers seems to better utilize his bench when Joel is not available, it seems, and then he gets production from him, and they win games. To me, this team's obviously built around Joel, but is that really the right thing to do? And we've talked about that 30 points versus 40-point thing and all that before.
It's still the right thing to build around him. He's one of the, perennial MVP candidates. He's going to be in the top 5 in the MVP voting again this year. When he is healthy, and yeah, I know it's an if, is he going to be healthy? He is a guy to build around. He's not Will Chamberlain. It's a totally different game now, but he's a guy who can not only, score inside, he can make 3-pointers, he can defend. He's not going to get 20 rebounds a game like Wilt did because he's not always right near the basket, but he is going to get 11, 12 rebounds pretty much every night. It's just keeping these guys healthy and, yeah, using the bench a little better. Coach Rivers could do a better job with that. I agree. And some of that's on the players, though, too. We're not getting the production we would like to see from some of those guys. So hopefully that will improve as they continue to get to know one another and, get a better feel for one another during the second half of the season.
Yeah, well, those bench guys are only going to get better when they get to play. Getting limited minutes every night in mop-up time isn't going to get it done. And I think that's where they got to get. We talked about this last week with Kevin Cooney about just the depth being good enough to win. And it's a long season. It's a long grinding playoffs, and guys get banged up, and Joel gets banged up every day anyway. So that's a whole nother thing. And they got to have everybody ready if they're going to make a run.
Yeah, DeAnthony Melton, Shake Milton, and George Niang all have their moments. Just it would be nice to see a little more consistency out of all of them.
Yeah, well, and you mentioned Wilt. There was a time when Wilt couldn't win a championship either until Wilt stopped scoring all the points and became more of a team guy and was dishing the ball off more. And then they started winning championships. So there's that too. So we'll see how it plays out, but it's going to be a fun second half of the season, I think.
Yeah, I think they're going to win 50 games and they'll be right there in the mix. But as we said, it's going to be what are they going to do come playoff time? And if they don't get past the second round, we're going to have the same complaints as we've had the last 3 years.
That's right. All right, let's move on. Let's give a shout out to all the shows over at the Edge of Philly Sports Network. Wall-to-wall coverage. As usual, you can catch all the action on www.eopsports.com, as well as Edge of Philly Sports on YouTube. You can find our show on Philly Press Box Radio YouTube channel as well. Please help us out. hit those subscribe, follow, like buttons, and as always, share with your family and friends. As you can see from the graphic, all kinds of coverage. Little later on Sunday this week because of no Eagles game, but you see we got a little Sixers-Lakers post game coming on Sunday as well. But loaded up all week, all good stuff happening at the Edge of Philly Sports Network. Hey, Chet, College Football Hall of Fame announced their class of 2023. Brian Westbrook of Villanova, Troy Vincent of Wisconsin, both selected, both great Eagles. Of course, Brian playing locally at Villanova. Great job by those guys.
Yeah, congrats to both Troy and to B West, both of whom, by the way, visited Philly Press Box Radio last year. And you know who else was one of the guys who are going into the Hall of Fame? That would be that Jeremy Macklin, who played his college ball at Missouri. That's Macklin on top. You got B West in the middle of the photographs here, and Troy Vincent down the bottom. So congrats to those guys, plus some other familiar names, you know, like Tim Tebow and that Luke Kuechly as well. Reggie Bush, of course. So congrats to all these guys. I believe the inductions will be later in the year, November or December, out in Las Vegas.
And I'll tell you, Chet, if my memory serves me right, and I meant to look this up today and I forgot, but when we were lads, Bill Kohler of Montana State, who is going into the Hall of Fame, I believe he was an Eagle back in the day, if my memory serves me right. Maybe our man Boop, Bob Patron Jr. of Boop Stats, could tell us that when we.
I don't remember that name.
Bill Kohler, I believe, played for the Eagles sometime back there in early in his career when we were just lads.
Okay, maybe
we'll check that out. That'd be another one to have. And hey, also the NFL announced their 15 finalists that will be cut down to 6 for induction. Not a sniff of an Eagle in that group, Chet, of 15. One of these days, Eric Allen has to get in the mix because I say, for what it's worth, Eric Allen is better than Rondé Barber. And Rondé Barber is in the group of 15.
It would certainly be nice. Certainly deserving is Eric Allen. And I'm still going to campaign for Seth Joyner to get in there one of these days, too. I know it's probably not going to happen at this point, but I think Seth deserves it as well.
Well, Seth hasn't been making the second group, the down to 50 group. He's in the 100 group.
Yeah,
he's not making the down to 50 group. Eric Allen makes the 50 group, but then he can't make the 15 group. That's where he's being left out. And Darrell Rivas is a corner that's in on this group, and so is Rondé Barber. Rivas got a lot of ink along the way, so that probably helps him. But I'm Eric Allen over Rondé Barber all the way.
Yeah, I'm with you. We just got to convince enough voters of that, though, Bill.
Yeah, well, a lot of good players on that list. I mean, 9 aren't going in. And all 9 could go in. I mean, it's a solid list for sure.
Let's wake up Boop, shall we?
All right, let's welcome our man from Boop Stats, Bob Patron Jr., brought to us from his home office at Splits Bar and Grill to make this week's picks, provided some Super Bowl, Super Wild Card Weekend better tidbits. Boop, welcome back.
Willie Kohlers? Is that who we're talking?
Yeah, Bill Kohler.
Bill Kohler.
1974, played 13 games, 1 start.
There you go. What a memory.
There you go.
And that's just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
Hey, Boop's on, and look, here come the cheers. Here come the cheers.
Yeah, there you go.
Boop. Boo, hey, Boop. Look at that.
Hands go wild.
It's like walking in the Splits. They all yell my name when I walk in there, too.
Yeah. Hey, Boop, let me ask you something. I did a story on my real job the other day, Business News, that since it was legalized in New Jersey has wagered something like $38 billion, which is $32 billion, more than any other state, including Nevada, Pennsylvania, third on the list. Is it true that you accounted for 25% of those wagers?
I can neither confirm or deny that, but I'd have to reach for my wallet and double check the exact figure.
Okay.
Hey, Boop, I don't know if you can see the screen, but I just keep putting up cheers for you as we go on.
I got to call it Poop, though.
There.
Close enough.
Well, we knew what he meant.
It's spelled worse.
That's right. All right. Hey, Chet, regular season is complete. How did we do last week? What were the regular season standings? I can tell you, I was pretty excited when Detroit won that game because I knew they would. But then did I get hammered in the national championship game because you forced me to take TCU.
Did we? I thought you ended up taking Georgia because
Nah,
we took TCU with the points.
You took TCU with the points.
Yeah, we went. That was with the points. We had to do the points on that one. You said.
Yeah.
So you said
maybe
you took
not.
Georgia.
I guess we better go back and look.
According to my notes,
I went opposite of you guys.
Yeah, we took TCU with the points because I flipped a coin.
Then I took Georgia.
Yeah, there you go. So the question now is the defending champion choking? Bill, I was just 3-3 in week 18, as was Boop, and this includes the college championship game, which stunk. We did about as well as Aaron Rodgers, but not quite as awful as Dak Prescott in week 18. Meanwhile, you, Mr. Furman, if we do include that point spread pick for the college football national championship game, you somehow went 5-1. So my 3-game lead is now down to 1. I am 48-28. You are 47-29, Bill. Boop stays 8 games back and is now just trying not to get hurt.
Hey, he's got time. We're all at the dance. We're 0-0 now. Not really. We're adding on, but it sounds good.
Wild card playoff prediction time, guys.
All right. Well, hey, we're going to pick all 6 this weekend. This should be fun. It's easy to pick the favorites in this, but never seems to work out that way on wild card weekend. So here we go. Saturday games. Let's start out with Seattle at San Francisco. The Niners -9.5. Looks like a breeze game, Boop.
Yeah, this is the Niners' first playoff home game against a division rival since 1990, when they thumped the Rams 30-3. This won't be quite that easy, but they're going to win and cover.
Yeah, I think they'll win and cover also. As we mentioned earlier when we had Brandon on, Brock Purdy, 5-0 as a starter, 6-0 overall, counting the game he played before that. I like the Niners to roll in this one.
Yeah, I think Niners too. I don't think there's much way around it. I want them to get beat sometime before they see the Eagles, but I don't see it being this week. All right, Chargers visit Jacksonville. Chargers -1.5. I think this is an interesting game because I think we all want to root for Doug Peterson, whether that's brain or not, or brain or heart. We'll see.
In case you've forgotten, Doug Peterson is 2-0 straight up as a home underdog in the playoffs. So let's make it 3-0, Jacksonville.
Good point. Well, boy, this is tough for me because I'm rooting for Dougie P, but I'm also going with my head. And if you can see it right there, I did take the LA Chargers to win this game. I'm kind of hoping I'm wrong, even though it would hurt me in the standings. I think the Chargers will prevail. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm going to take Jacksonville because I am going to go with my heart. I like that the Jaguars are home. I think they're playing pretty good ball. I do like Herbert, though. I think he's a pretty solid quarterback for the Chargers. But I'm going to go with Jacksonville at home here.
Either way, this is a win for me, the way I take it. Because if Jackson wins, I'll be happy. And if the Chargers win, I got a prediction right.
All right. So now we get to Sunday. Miami visits Buffalo. Buffalo -9. Is Buffalo a team of destiny here, boys, or they just going to roll this thing?
You know, when they flex their muscles, they might just be the best team in the NFL, and now it looks like they might be on a mission. So they're going to definitely win this week, and I think they're going to be probably the toughest out for the 2 teams I'll be rooting for, the Eagles and Chiefs down the line. So Buffalo.
Is Tua playing in this game, Boop?
No Tua. So Buffalo should roll. We lost you there, Boop. I heard no Tua. Is that correct? No Tua?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no Tua. Bill, you got Buffalo, I take it.
Yeah, I got Buffalo. All right,
next.
Giants. Go ahead, Boop. Oh, Giants versus the Minnesota Vikings. Go ahead, Boop.
One road team is going to win this week, and I think it might be the Giants, who are going to revert to their early season acumen of winning games, although I'm not quite sure how they did. So I'm taking New York here.
Boop, you're absolutely right. Minnesota has not played great down the stretch. I think this is a road team that wins, and I think it would be good for the Eagles because it will mean that the Eagles will play the Giants in the divisional round. So I'm taking the New York Football Giants.
I am going with the Minnesota Vikings. I don't like to take a team that can't play defense, but I just still don't think the Giants are any good. and not having to do with last week's game against the Eagles. I just don't think they're good enough. Minnesota can score bunches of points, so I'm going to go Minnesota in this game.
Mm-hmm. Next.
All right, Baltimore visits Cincinnati. Bengals -7. Lamar Jackson looks like he is out again, it seems like.
Yeah. Since the beginning of December, Baltimore's averaging 12.5 points a game. That's not going to beat Joe Burrow. Cincinnati.
Yeah, this is an easy one for me. I think both the Niners game and this one are going to be easy for the home teams. I'm taking the Bengals to win and cover.
Well, I don't know it's going to be easy because I think Baltimore will play some defense, but without Lamar Jackson, I just don't think Baltimore can beat Cincinnati. So I'm going to take Cincinnati. All right, that gets us to Monday Night Football. Dallas visits 7-0 against them, Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Dallas just -2.5 in this game, Boop.
The last time the Cowboys won a road playoff game, Larry Anderson was still pitching for the Phillies. Tampa Bay.
Is that true?
They've lost 8 in a row. Their last win came January 17th, 1993.
Wow. I did not know that. Yeah. You look good, Bill. You look better than ever.
That's L.A.
I know it is. I'm taking Tampa Bay as well, not just because I want to see Dallas lose. Just, I would be very happy to see Dallas lose. I just think Tampa Bay is going to win this one because Dak Prescott is inconsistent, and the Cowboys are going to do cowboy-like things here in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm going to take Tampa because I'm not going to bet against Brady in the playoffs. And I don't really know what to think of Dak and how this thing is playing out with him. I mean, I'm not a fan. I've never thought he was that good, but I never thought he was this bad either. I just think he's really struggling. And, maybe TB12 could put one more together.
Yeah.
All right, Boop, throw some weekly Splits Bar and Grill tidbits for us this weekend.
We mentioned the Cowboys have lost 8 straight road playoff games. It's tied for second all time in NFL history. The Lions are actually working on an 11-game road postseason losing streak. Their last road playoff win, the Lions, was Chet's 16th birthday, December 22nd, 1957.
Hey.
Wow.
Chet now.
Couple other numbers I'll throw at you. Tom Brady has played in 47 playoff games. The Philadelphia Eagles have played 47 playoff games. Little symmetry there. That I always like numerical symmetry. Jumping around, we mentioned college football earlier in that 65-7 blowout Georgia had. If you follow me on Twitter at BootStats, you might see that I put a list together. I checked out as many college and pro football levels in North America that I could find. All the NCAAs and NAIA, CFL, AFL, AA, and it is the third largest margin of victory in any title game that I could find, bettered only by the 63-0 Dayton victory in NCAA Division III championship in 1980, and the infamous Chicago Bears 73-0 blanking of Washington, whatever the nickname was there, back in 1940. Pretty big blowout, and I was on the wrong side of that one. And lastly, I don't know if you guys talked about this. Did you see what Miami did last night? Miami Heat?
Made 40 free throws, 40 for 40.
40 for 40 from the line,
Butler,
and they won by 1.
For 23. Wow.
And they won by 1 point.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, that's
how
pretty
important is
impressive,
free throw shooting when if you go 38 for 40, you're going to lose?
Yeah.
Right. And didn't you say Chet Butler's 23 for 23, right?
Yeah, Jimmy Butler. Yep.
Yeah.
That's a lot of foul shots.
History.
A lot of foul shots.
That's a lot of foul shots.
It sure is. Yeah. It's like a 1990s Big East game.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Chet, Boop, before we let you go, let everyone know where they can follow you on your social platforms and everything else you got going on.
You can follow me on Twitter at BoopStats, BOOPStats. And I have a website, boopstats.com, where I put a lot of the stuff I post on Twitter in a PDF so that you can print it out. Things like TV listings each day and Philadelphia schedules and Big Five. I did a couple of Big Five lists this week with number 1 teams. It was pretty cool. So boopstats.com or on Twitter at boopstats.
All right. Boop. It's the dance. You're back in. You made it to the dance. It's all good. We're going to start winning some games.
Yeah, that's good. That'll be very good.
All right. Thanks, Boop.
All right, Boop. Thanks,
guys.
All right. Hey, Chet, good stuff as always from Boop.
Wait, Bill, before I tell you about next week, I got to tell you something else. I got to tell you about what's happened with Philly Sports Trips, because they got something real special happening right now.
Ooh.
Philly Sports Trips excited about the Birds being just 2 home wins away from going to the Super Bowl. So with the big game set for next month in Arizona, Philly Sports Trips has decided to start taking 100% fully refundable deposits for trips. It's going to be very difficult to get to Arizona, and Philly Sports Trips wants to reward fans who commit early by guaranteeing them a seat on their private charter flight and a room at the hotel, depending on your chosen package. The deposit, $499, reserves your spot if the Philadelphia Eagles make it to Super Bowl 57. And keep this in mind, all deposits are fully refundable or transferable to any other future trip. Now, if the Eagles make it to the big game, but you aren't happy with the package for any reason, you can still get a full refund of that deposit if you request it prior to Monday, January 30th at 5 p.m. That will be the day after the conference championship games. Early registration guarantees that you have the best access to flights and hotels. Philly Sports Trips charter flight will fill up quickly. Hotel rooms are limited. So get all the details at phillysportstrips.com. And regarding those 2 home games at the link, and yes, I'm confident, as I said, there will be 2 of them. Sherry's Ticket Town has the tickets for you. Sherry'sTickets.com is easy to use and has no hidden fees. The price you see is the price you pay. Pay less and play more with Sherry'sTickets.com. Save even more by using the exclusive promo code EOP10. That is for Edge of Philly. EOP10. Don't pay hidden fees and save 10%. Why use any other ticket reseller and get those hard-to-come-by tickets for the big game through Sherry's? Of course, Sherry'sTickets.com also has great theater and concert tickets that are hard to get your hands on. Remember, use the promo code EOP10. The website, Sherry'sTickets.com. There you go, Bill.
Now, Chet, didn't I see a note today that they have tickets for the playoff game next week? Is that?
I believe so, yeah. That is true, yeah. That's what I said regarding the 2 home games at the link. You can check with them. They certainly have them for the first game, and they will, they're competitive with all the other rivals out there as far as secondary market prices.
Gotcha. Okay, good stuff. Hey, great guest tonight in Brandon Lee Gowton, as always, and Boop, as always. Who's coming to Philly Press Box next week?
Well, I got to check my notes and find out. Oh, yeah, I know who's coming next week. Well, Chief, you and I will preview the Eagles divisional round playoff game against whoever. We don't know who that's going to be yet, but we will also have a couple of great guests joining us to talk about the Philly sports scene and more. First of all, we met this guy a few months back and had such a good time talking to him that we are having him back again. From the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame, it is Mike Conroy. Mike will help us promote a real cool event that's happening later this month up in Norristown. It's a Darren Dalton Foundation fundraiser at Von C Brewery on the 27th. I can't wait to go there because I've heard great things about that particular brewery. And you know who else is going to be there? And on this show, as a matter of fact, next week, Mickey Morandini, a fan favorite and a great guy. Number 12, Philly's second baseman, Mickey Morandini.
First timer.
Yeah, first timer. How about that?
Very good. Hey, never too early to talk baseball. That's for sure. And, I can tell you because I live right down the street from Tiger Town where the Tigers spring train. I went by there the other day, and there's balls and bats out there already, Chet. You can hear the boom.
Next week, it's officially 1 month from the time pitchers and catchers report. So we are getting close, Bill.
Yep,
I like
they're already out there. Seasons. Good stuff. All right. Hey, Chet, Flyers, as we said, a mid-season. Hard to believe they're 16, 18, and 7. Really not bad. Just 7 points out of that last playoff spot. I don't know if they could do it or not. There's all kinds of trade rumblings going on and all that. But is it possible to ride the hot rookie goaltender, Sam Ersson?
Boy, who knows? That's going to be really interesting to see how all this develops. how much, Urson and Carter Hart are going to get as far as, splitting the time. And what about Felix Sandstrom, who had been the backup to Hart until about 10 days ago? I actually heard somebody on the radio yesterday, and it was one of the hosts on 97.5 actually, said the Flyers should trade Carter Hart and go with Urson. I think it's a little premature to say that. I mean, he's played, 5 games? I know he's played well, but a little premature to talk about trading Carter Hart.
Yeah, I think so too. But I have no problem with riding the hot wave here.
Yeah.
If he's winning, play him. They see Alexander Ovechkin tonight, and it looks like Carter Hart is back in the goal, or expected to be. Provorov, Hayes, Van Riemsdyk, all their names coming up on trade possibilities. I mean, we may have a whole different looking team here shortly. That's more veterans, and that's more goal scorers that are going away. And sooner or later, got to replace goal scorers.
Yeah, Flyers are more likely to be sellers than buyers as the trade deadline approaches. And that trade deadline, by the way, isn't until March 3rd this year. So we'll see. There could be a lot of changes over the next 6 or 7 weeks.
And frankly, 16, 18, and 7 for this team is really not bad considering where they started and where we thought we were going with them. They're playing almost 500 and 7 points out when it looked like they were about 17 out not long ago.
Yeah, well, those 7 overtime or shootout losses, really hurts them. They got to do better in those extended games, because then you would be over 500 if you win a bunch of those. But yeah, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they are going to sell a bunch of these guys off and, maybe get lucky in the draft, because there's some good guys at the top of the NHL draft in June.
Oh yeah, there's one of those generational players out there that we'll see how that goes.
One other thing about the NHL in the Pacific Division. The first and third teams in the Pacific Division are the Las Vegas Golden Knights, and then in third place, but not too far back, those Seattle Kraken, coached by Dave Haxtell, believe it or not.
Yeah, go figure. Hey, and a couple other things. As I mentioned, Ovechkin, he's closing in on Wayne Gretzky. Chet, he's now number 2 all time in goals. He's not going to do it this year, but there's a real good chance next year Ovechkin is going to pass Gretzky in goals. And the other thing, we don't ever get to see him because he plays in Edmonton, but Connor McDavid is putting up numbers that are on a pace to score about 140 or 150 points this season. Yeah. He's really, really good.
He is, and I never thought Gretzky would be caught with the goal scoring, but hey, it could happen, like you said, probably next year.
That's right.
Razz it, Bill. Razz it.
Let's take another quick break and thank our friends at the PPCC 118 Razz Room. They post great sports memorabilia on their Facebook page so people can take a chance of winning something they may not be able to afford or have access to. All items come with certificates of authenticity. They continue to run out great autographed memorabilia from all the Philly teams and more. Check out their Facebook page, like it or follow it. It's PPCC 118 Razz Room. That's right. PPCC 118 Razz Room on Facebook.
Yeah. Yes,
Any
sir.
parting shots for you tonight? Notes?
No parting shot other than some sad news from the world of music today. Jeff Beck left us, 78 years old. Bacterial meningitis, which apparently we just learned about very recently. A legend, played with the Yardbirds, with the Jeff Beck group featuring Rod Stewart and Ronnie Wood. Just considered one of the greatest legendary guitarists of all time, dead at 78. So bad news on that front. Jim Croce would have turned 80 yesterday. Man, they're talking about a guy gone too soon. He was, a South Philly guy, and he died in that plane crash in the early 70s.
Hey.
Yeah.
Delco guy.
Oh, Delco, was he?
Upper Darby, Delco guy. Deep in the heart of Delco, baby.
And finally, today is National Milk Day. And I was just thinking, I can't remember the last time I've had just a glass of milk. I use milk, in cereal and in coffee, but I've never, in the last 30 years at least, had a glass of milk.
Didn't I hear that this is National Pizza Week?
Oh, I don't know about that.
I heard that on the radio.
Today is also National Step in a Puddle and Splash Your Friends Day, but that's a whole other thing. Wrap it up, Bill.
There you go. Let's wrap it up. Let's thank tonight's special guest, Brandon Lee Gowton, Bob Vitrone Jr., our sponsors, Irish Rover Station House, Bob Sullivan's LikeYourAge.com, PPCC 118 Razz Room, and Dave Lavoie of Allstate Insurance in Westchester, PA. For Jim, Chet, Chesko, this is Bill Furman. We hope you enjoyed the show. We'll join Philly Press Box Radio next Wednesday, January 18th at 7 p.m. You can see us live on Facebook. Listen to our website, phillypressboxradio.com, on blogtalkradio.com/phillypressboxradio, on Google Podcasts, as well as Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all the others. With that, high hopes, Philadelphia sports fans, and go Birds!
Happy trails to you till we meet again.